So I'm back with Light of Healing, and this is moving into a little more detail about the creation process. And one of my tenets of creation is building layers. So when I talk about layers, I liken those to layers of experience in our lives. When we were raising our daughters, our triplet daughters, I remember my husband, or I read it in a book, maybe Girls Will Be Girls. And the saying was that raising your children is like a beautiful strudel, and the layers of the strudel all come together to create the beautiful dessert that ultimately comes out on the other side. And my husband and I thought that was a beautiful metaphor. And I remember when we were raising our daughters, we would look at each other and say, okay, this is a strudel moment. And we would know that in that moment we were baking in a layer of strudel. And yeah, sure enough, we have found that to be true over and over. And that strudel method, that strudel metaphor, I bring into my art. You'll find that my art is very layered. It's complex, and I'm really never done until there's probably at least 3 or 4 layers, or 5 or more layers, over and over again. And this painting, of course, was no exception. And that's really where I learned the technique and my craft and my materials well enough to build up layers over time, because that was actually one of the things I struggled with when I was starting out in art. Or what are the materials that will allow me to create the layers that I want, the translucency, the veils, because everything felt too thin to me. It was like one layer just was not enough. And so layers in painting for me are like layers in experiences in life. And the more layers and the more richness in that tapestry of life that we can add into, that I can bring into the painting, the more interesting, the more vibrant, the more healing that painting is. So in this painting, you can just look and look and look and see there's new things all of the time. There's a flame here, there's paint brushes down here, there's a hand here holding a tomato, there's a trellis of tomatoes, there's flowers, there's mountains, there's rivers, there's an owl, there's a woman who I had circled her stomach and then put the scars from where my breast cancer and my hysterectomy. And then there's a woman's face peeking through here. This is Bridget's flame, and the tomatoes showed up, 5 tomatoes. We're a family of 5. And then I had 3 paint brushes down here, one each representing my daughters. And the gold and the energy, and then an owl. I think I had talked about the owl before. Yes, one of my favorite things. And the mountains, one of the most sacred place for me. So layers are key, and layers to me are, again, about experience in life and should be treated with reverence. All experience has something to give and something to share. Another technique that I like to use that I didn't use in this, but I'll find interesting, and you might see in some of my other work, is I will sand back with an actual sander so that you're able to see all of the layers at one time, because then ultimately there is only the now. Eternity, who we are, exists in the now, and the ability to see all of the layers through this lens, through this sanding back, and you see each of the piece that created the beauty of what it is, I think is such a cool thing, and I love to have that in my art. Most of my art I create on wood so that I can do those things, because when you're sanding on canvas, it can be a little rough. So that's one of my most favorite aspects of my painting, and I just wanted to share that with you.